subscribe to Storylab. Now, let's begin this one. The afternoon sun cut through the blinds of the small apartment in Savannah, Georgia, throwing amber lines across the worn carpet. Joseph Cervantes sat on the floor, his 7-year-old son Danny between his knees, helping him build a Lego space station. The boy's fingers were small and clumsy with the tiny pieces, but his tongue stuck out in concentration, and Joseph felt something tighten in his chest, the same feeling he got every time he came home from deployment and saw how much the kid had grown. "Dad, when you go back, how long this time?" Danny asked, not looking up from the red piece he was trying to jam onto a blue one. 6 months, probably. Maybe less. Joseph guided his son's hands, showing him how the pieces actually connected. "But I'll call every week, just like always. Mom says you like being gone more than being here." Joseph's hand stilled. It wasn't the first time Brittany had said something like that, but hearing it from Danny's mouth made it different. "That's not true, buddy. I have a job to do. But you're what I think about every single day I'm over there." Danny looked up at him then, brown eyes wide and trusting, and nodded. "Okay." The apartment door opened. Brittany came in carrying grocery bags, her sister Ashley right behind her. Both women were on their phones, laughing at something on Ashley's screen. They'd been like that a lot lately, huddled together, secretive, giggling like teenagers. "Joe, Preston's coming over for dinner," Brittany said without looking at him. "He's got some new venture he wants to talk about." Preston Bell. Joseph had never liked his brother-in-law, and the feeling was mutual. The man had a face like a weasel and eyes that never quite met yours. He worked in digital marketing, which seemed to mean he was always on his laptop doing something he never explained in detail. Ashley had married him 3 years ago, and the whole family treated him like he was some kind of tech genius because he drove a new BMW. "I've got PT at 0500, Joseph said. "I'm not staying up late. It'll just be a quick dinner, Joe. Don't be rude." Brittany finally looked at him, and there was something in her expression he couldn't quite read. "Family's important." Joseph nodded slowly, something nagging at the back of his mind. Brittany had been different since he'd gotten back from his last deployment 8 weeks ago. Distant. Cold, even. She barely looked at him anymore, barely touched him. He'd try to talk about it, but she'd shut him down every time. "Tired," she'd say. "Headache." "Not now." His phone buzzed. A text from his CEO, Cervantes, "Heads up. Deployment moved up. Brief Monday, 0900. He closed his eyes. Danny had just gotten used to him being home. "Dad." Danny tugged on his sleeve. "The antenna piece." Joseph pushed the thought away and handed his son the piece. "Right here, buddy." Dinner was tense. Preston arrived wearing an expensive suit and carrying a bottle of wine that probably cost more than Joseph made in a week. He talked nonstop about his new project, some kind of streaming platform for exclusive content, while Ashley hung on his every word. Brittany kept refilling Preston's wine glass and laughing at jokes that weren't funny. Joseph ate his chicken in silence, watching. Danny had been sent to his room after eating, which was unusual. Normally, Brittany let him stay up when they had company. The beauty of the platform, Preston was saying, his words slightly slurred now, is the anonymity. Viewers pay premium prices for content they can't get anywhere else. We're talking 5-6 figures a month. "That's amazing, honey," Ashley cooed, squeezing his arm. Joseph set down his fork. "What kind of content?" Preston's eyes flickered to him, then away. "Exclusive stuff. Nothing illegal, of course. Just niche audiences." "Niche," Joseph repeated. "Very niche," Brittany said quickly. "Should we have dessert?" After they left, Joseph helped Brittany clean up. She was quiet, avoiding his eyes. He'd been married to her for 9 years. He knew when she was hiding something. "What's really going on with Preston's business?" he asked. "I don't know what you mean." "Britt, come on." She turned to him, and her face was cold. "You never hear, Joe. You don't get to come home and interrogate me about my family." "Your family?" "He's married to your sister, not." "Just stop." She threw the dish towel on the counter. "I'm tired. I'm going to bed." He stood in the kitchen alone, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway. Something was wrong. Something had been wrong for months, maybe longer. He'd been deployed so much in the last 3 years that he'd missed it, whatever it was. The thought made his stomach turn. Joseph checked on Danny before going to bed. The boy was asleep, curled around his stuffed dinosaur, face peaceful. Joseph stood in the doorway for a long moment, memorizing the scene. In 2 weeks, he'd be back in the desert, and these quiet moments would feel like another lifetime. The notification came at 0530 the next morning while Joseph was doing push-ups in the living room. His phone buzzed on the coffee table, a text from a number he didn't recognize. No message, just a link. He almost deleted it. Spam links came through all the time, but something made him click it. The page loaded slowly. A streaming interface, black background, professional design. The title made his blood freeze. Breaking a Soldier's Son, live now. His finger hovered over the screen. Then he pressed play. The video quality was high definition. A gray concrete room, fluorescent lights, and in the center, strapped to a chair too big for him, was Danny. His Danny. His son was wearing the same pajamas he'd been sleeping in 2 hours ago. Joseph's vision narrowed. His heart rate spiked, but his hand stayed steady. Ranger training, muscle memory, the ability to function through shock. He turned up the volume. Danny was crying, head hung forward, small body shaking. A voice off camera spoke. 3 hours in the stress position. Let's see if this little warrior has what his father has. Preston's voice. Joseph would recognize that nasal tone anywhere. The camera panned, and Joseph saw the viewer count in the corner. 47 people watching. And in the chat sidebar, messages scrolled past. Finally, some good content. These military brats need to learn. How long until he breaks? And then, one message that made his stomach drop. Brittany_C. He's weaker than his father. This is disappointing. His wife was in the chat. His wife was watching their son being tortured and commenting on it. Joseph's hands started to shake. Not from fear. From rage so pure and complete that it felt like his blood had turned to acid. He forced himself to keep watching, to screen record, to document. His ranger training took over. Observe, gather intelligence, plan. The stream continued. Preston stepped into frame now, face visible. He wasn't hiding. He was proud. For those just joining, this is day 1 of a 3-day breaking cycle. The boy's father is Joseph Cervantes, 75th Ranger Regiment, 3 deployments. Let's see if the son has the same resilience. Danny lifted his head, and Joseph saw his son's face, terrified, confused, searching for help that wasn't coming. Daddy, the boy whimpered. Joseph's phone buzzed again. A text from Brittany. Took Danny to my mother's for the weekend. Don't call. He needs time away from you. His next text was to his CEO, Colonel James Clark. Emergency. Need to see you now. My son's life is in danger. The response came within minutes. My office. 0630. Joseph sent one more message, this one to his team leader, Sergeant First Class Derek Rowe. I need you. Bring Matthew Gordon, Terry Clements, and anyone else you trust with your life. Can't explain over text. Then he sat on the couch, phone in his hand, and watched the stream. He watched his son suffer. He recorded every second, and he planned. Because Preston Bell had made a critical error, he was still streaming, which meant Danny was still alive. And Joseph knew exactly how to find a live stream's location if you had the right tools and the right motivation. Colonel Clark was a former Delta operator who'd seen more combat than most men twice his age. When Joseph walked in his office at 0630, Clark took one look at his face and locked the door. Talk, Clark said. Joseph pulled out his phone and showed him the screen recording. Clark watched in silence, his jaw tightening with each passing second. When it finished, he set the phone down carefully, as if it might explode. Who knows about this? Clark asked. You. My team. I called them in. No one else. The mother. She's part of it. Joseph's voice was flat, empty. She's in the chat, watching, cheering. Clark stood up and walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. You know what you're asking me to do? I'm not asking, sir. I'm telling you. I've got a plane to catch in 4 hours, and I'm going to be on it. I've got the technical skills to trace that stream. I will find my son. The only question is whether I do it alone or with backup. That sounds like a threat, Sergeant Cervantes. It's a fact, sir. Joseph leaned forward. Approve my emergency leave right now, or I go AWOL. Court-martial me after. I don't give a damn, but I'm getting my son back today. Clark turned around. How many men do you need? 8. You'll have them. Off the books. This conversation never happened. Clark sat down and pulled out a form, signing it with swift, angry strokes. You find that boy. And Cervantes? I never liked watching pedophiles and sadists walk away from crimes they committed against military families. You understand what I'm saying? Joseph understood perfectly. Yes, sir. Good. Get your team and get out of here. I'll handle the paperwork. By 800, Joseph had 8 Rangers assembled in a safe house outside base. Derek Rowe was there, along with Matthew Gordon, Terry Clements, and 5 others. Sergio Farrell, Eric Pugh, Simon Doherty, Charlie Fuller, and Will Galloway. Every one of them had deployed with Joseph multiple times. Every one of them had his back. Joseph showed them the video. No one spoke. When it finished, Derek looked at him and said simply, "What's the plan? I can trace the stream, but I need equipment." Eric, you still have your contact at Fort Gordon? Eric Pugh nodded. NSA liaison. Owes me a favor. Call it in. I need signal intelligence gear, portable, within 2 hours. Done. Matthew weapons. Non-traceable if possible. This goes sideways. I don't want it coming back on anyone but me. Matthew Gordon cracked his knuckles. I know a guy. The rest of you, standard kit. Light assault, room clearing, hostage extraction. We're going to find where they're holding my son, and we're going to get him out. Fast and quiet if we can. Loud and violent if we can't. Simon Doherty raised a hand. What about the mother? Joseph's face went hard. She's my problem, not yours. And the man running the show? Charlie Fuller asked. Preston Bell. He's mine too. Derek stood up. Joe, we need to talk about what happens after. This isn't a sanctioned op. If we cross certain lines. I'll cross them alone, Joseph interrupted. You guys extract Danny and get out. Whatever happens to me after that is my choice. Bullshit, Terry Clements said. We're Rangers. We don't leave men behind. That includes you. The others nodded in agreement. Joseph felt something crack in his chest, something that had been holding him together. These men, his brothers, were willing to risk everything for him and his son. Thank you, he managed. Don't thank us yet, Eric said. Let's go get your boy. By 1100, they had the equipment. Eric's NSA contact had come through with a portable signals intelligence kit that could trace an IP address through multiple VPN layers and proxy servers. Joseph set it up on a laptop in the safe house, pulled up the streaming link, and started working. Preston had been smart enough to use TOR routing in several proxy layers, but he'd made one critical mistake. He'd kept the stream live for over 6 hours now. That much continuous data flow, even routed through anonymizing networks, left traces. Joseph had learned advanced signals intelligence during his time in Afghanistan, tracking Taliban communications. This was similar, just with different stakes. After 45 minutes, he had it. A physical address in rural South Carolina, about 200 miles away. An old farm property, isolated, perfect for what they were doing. Got it, Joseph said. We roll in 2 hours. Time to prep. The Rangers moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons, reviewing building entry procedures, planning contingencies. Joseph pulled up satellite imagery of the property. A main farmhouse, 2 outbuildings, 1 barn. Lots of open ground, which meant approaching quietly would be difficult. They're going to have security, Derek said, studying the images. Probably cameras, maybe armed guards. The stream is still live, Joseph said, checking his phone. Which means they're confident. Overconfident. That's good for us. Will Galloway looked over Joseph's shoulder. Wait, check the viewer count. Joseph looked. It had grown. Now, 73 people were watching his son suffer. In the chat, more messages. Brittany_C. I paid extra for this. Make it hurt more. _Bell. My husband is an artist at this. Ashley. Preston's wife. Both sisters were in on it. Actively participating, paying for it. Joseph's hands clenched into fists. Matthew put a hand on his shoulder. Stay focused, brother. We get Danny first. Everything else comes after. Right? Joseph took a breath, forced the rage down into a cold, controlled place. Let's move. They drove in 2 vehicles, a nondescript van and an SUV, both acquired by Matthew from sources that wouldn't ask questions. The drive to South Carolina, took 3 hours. Joseph spent it watching the stream, monitoring, making sure Danny was still alive. His son had been taken down from the chair now, lying on a thin mat in the corner of the room, not moving much. Joseph couldn't tell if he was unconscious or just exhausted. Preston appeared on camera periodically, speaking to his audience. Tomorrow, we'll begin the psychological phase. The boy needs to understand that his father isn't coming, that the military hero myth is just that, a myth. These children grow up worshiping their fathers, and it makes them weak. We're performing a public service. Public service, Charlie muttered from the driver's seat. I'm going to enjoy this. Steady, Joseph said. We do this clean, in and out, no unnecessary risks. But even as he said it, he knew he was lying. There was nothing clean about what he was planning. Preston Bell and everyone involved in this were going to pay, and the payment was going to be severe. They arrived at the property at dusk. Joseph and Derek did a recon first, creeping through the woods that bordered the farm. They counted 4 men outside, guards carrying rifles, doing patrol circuits. Professional enough to be trained, sloppy enough to be overconfident. Inside the main house, lights blazed from the basement windows. That's where they were holding Danny. Joseph could see shadows moving inside, multiple people. Back at the vehicles, Joseph briefed the team. 4 exterior guards, unknown number inside. We going fast. Sergio, well, you take the 2 guards on the north side. Eric and Simon, south side. Quiet takedowns, no guns unless necessary. Rest of us go straight for the basement. Matthew, Terry, you're on overwatch. Anyone comes out that isn't us, drop them. Everyone nodded. One more thing, Joseph said. Preston Bell is mine. Anyone else gets in your way, do what you need to do. But Bell is mine. Understood, understood, they said in unison. Joseph checked his watch. 1947 hours. He pulled up the stream one more time. Still broadcasting. Danny was still in the corner, awake now, crying softly. 79 viewers. People were paying to watch his child break. Let's go hunting, Joseph said. The Rangers moved like ghosts through the darkening woods. Sergio and will split off to the north, Eric and Simon to the south. Joseph, Derek, and Charlie headed straight for the main house. Matthew and Terry found elevated positions with sight lines on all exits. The first guard went down without a sound. Sergio's knife work was efficient and silent. Will took the second one with a chokehold that put the man unconscious in 4 seconds. Eric and Simon's targets dropped just as quietly. Joseph reached the basement door on the side of the house. Locked, but Charlie had a breaching tool that made short work of it. They descended the stairs in tactical formation, weapons up, silent. The basement was larger than it had appeared on camera. 3 rooms. The first was empty. The second had computer equipment, multiple monitors showing the streaming interface, professional camera setup, sound equipment. This wasn't amateur hour. This was a full production. The third room was where they were keeping Danny. Joseph breached the door, and the scene burned itself into his memory. Danny in the corner, curled up, shaking. Preston Bell at a desk, typing on a laptop. 2 other men in the room, both armed. The gunmen reached for their weapons. Derek shot one through the shoulder. Charlie put the other on the ground with a perfect leg shot. Both men went down screaming. Preston spun around, face going white. What? How did you? Joseph crossed the room in 3 strides and put his rifle barrel against Preston's forehead. Streaming ends now. Preston's hand shot up. Wait, you can't just. Close the stream. Now. Preston's fingers shook as he clicked the mouse, shutting down the broadcast. The viewer count disappeared. 79 people had just lost their entertainment. Danny's voice, small and broken. Daddy? Joseph wanted to go to him immediately, but he kept his weapon trained on Preston. Derek moved past him and knelt beside Danny, gently scooping the boy up. Hey, little man, we've got you. You're safe now. Joseph glanced back long enough to see his son's face pressed into Derek's shoulder, and the relief almost buckled his knees. But he forced himself to focus on Preston. How many others? Joseph asked, voice like ice. I don't. Joseph pressed the rifle harder against his skull. How many other children? 3, Preston gasped. 3 others, different locations. Where? I'll tell you, just please. Where? Preston rattled off 3 addresses. Charlie wrote them down, then relayed them to Matthew and Terry on comms. "We're going to make some calls," Charlie said. "Get law enforcement to those locations. Save those kids." "Good," Joseph said. "Now, Preston, let's talk about what happens next." Joseph zip-tied Preston to the chair his son had been tortured in. Then he went to Danny. The boy was conscious but barely, eyes unfocused, body trembling. Joseph held him carefully, checking for injuries. Bruises, dehydration, possible shock, but nothing that looked life-threatening. "You're okay," Joseph whispered. "Daddy's here. I've got you." "They said you weren't coming," Danny mumbled. "They said you didn't care." "They lied, buddy. I always come for you. Always." Charlie had field medic training. He checked Danny over more thoroughly while Joseph held him, confirming no major injuries beyond the psychological trauma. "He needs a hospital," Charlie said quietly. "But he's going to be okay." "Get him out," Joseph said. "Derek, take Danny to the van. Call an ambulance to meet you halfway back. Tell them you found him wandering by the road, anything. Keep our involvement out of it for now." Derek hesitated. "Joe, what are you going to do?" "What needs to be done? Don't do anything that'll ruin your life. Danny needs his father." Joseph looked at his son, then at Preston Bell, tied to the chair, and then back at Derek. "I know what I'm doing. Trust me." Derek held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. He carried Danny up the stairs. Charlie followed, leaving Joseph alone with Preston. Preston was sweating now, eyes wide. "Look, I can pay you. I've got money, lots of it. This doesn't have to." Joseph backhanded him hard enough to split his lip. "Don't talk. Just listen." He pulled out his phone and opened the screen recording of the stream. "This video is going to several places. First, every major law enforcement agency in the country. FBI, local police, military investigators. You're going to be famous, Preston. You can't." "Second," Joseph continued, "it's going to several of my contacts in the intelligence community. People who track dark web content. They're going to identify every single viewer who paid to watch my son suffer. And they're going to expose them." Preston's face went gray. "Third, and this is my favorite part," Joseph said, leaning close, "I'm going to post this to the same networks you use to advertise your stream. The dark web forums, the encrypted chat rooms, all of it. Every criminal who paid you money, every sick bastard who participated, they're all going to know that you kept records, that you documented everything, that you can identify them." Preston's eyes widened in horror as he understood. "They'll kill me." "Yes," Joseph said simply. "They will. See, I thought about killing you myself. Would have been easy, would have felt good. But then I realized, why dirty my hands when I can let your own network do it for me? You're a liability now, Preston. A loose end. And people like you don't tolerate loose ends." "Please," Preston whimpered. "Please, I have information. I can give you names, locations." "Oh, you're going to give me all of that anyway." "Right now, in fact." Joseph spent the next hour extracting every piece of information from Preston Bell. Names, addresses, payment records, client lists, locations of other children, everything. He recorded it all, documenting the entire network. Then he made good on his threat. Using Preston's own equipment, he uploaded the stream recording to law enforcement databases. He sent the documentation to FBI field offices. And he posted it all to the dark web forums where Preston had advertised his services, along with a simple message. Preston Bell kept detailed records. He knows all your names. He will talk. Finally, he called Colonel Clark. "Sir, I have Danny. He's safe. I'm sending you coordinates for this location and 2 others where they're holding children. I've also sent you evidence files. You're going to want to mobilize MPs and investigators immediately." "Already done," Clark said. "Good work, Sergeant. What about the primary target?" Joseph looked at Preston, who was crying now, begging. "I'm leaving him here. Alive. For now. Understood. Get yourself and your team out of there. We'll handle cleanup." Joseph hung up and stood over Preston. "You know what the worst part is? You're going to survive tonight. You'll get arrested, tried, probably get life in prison. But you won't make it a month in general population once they know what you did. Child abusers don't last long in prison. And even if they put you in protective custody, someone will get to you eventually. Because I'm going to make sure everyone in whatever facility you're sent to knows exactly what you streamed. What? Preston sobbed. Why not just kill me now? Because that would be mercy, Joseph said. And you don't deserve mercy. He walked out, leaving Preston tied to the chair to be found by law enforcement to face everything Joseph had put in motion. Outside, the team was waiting. Eric had already made the anonymous calls about the other locations. Child Protective Services and FBI were en route. Matthew and Terry had secured the exterior, making sure no one else would interfere. Clean? Derek asked. Clean enough, Joseph said. Let's move. They drove away from the farmhouse as sirens began to wail in the distance. Joseph sat in the back of the van, checking his phone. The stream was still offline, but he could see the dark web forums lighting up with activity. His message had been received. Preston Bell's former customers were very, very concerned. Good. The ambulance met them 40 miles outside Savannah. Paramedics took Danny, who was now sleeping fitfully, and rushed him to Memorial Health. Joseph followed in the van, Derek driving. The rest of the team scattered, returning to base through different routes. No communication between them, just as planned. At the hospital, Joseph sat in the ER waiting room while doctors examined his son. A nurse came out after an hour. He's stable. Dehydrated, exhausted, trauma responses, but nothing physically serious. He's gonna need therapy, though. A lot of it. Whatever he needs, Joseph said. Are you the father? I am. He's asking for you. Joseph followed her to the room. Danny was in a hospital bed, for in his arm, eyes open but tired. When he saw Joseph, he started crying again. Joseph sat on the edge of the bed and pulled his son into a careful hug. I've got you. You're safe. No one's ever going to hurt you again. Mom was there, Danny whispered. She was watching on the computer. She was smiling. Joseph's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice gentle. I know, buddy. I saw. What? That was the question Joseph didn't have an answer for. Why would a mother do that to her own child? What kind of sickness, what kind of evil would make someone capable of that? I don't know, he said honestly. But she's never going to hurt you again either. I promise. A Savannah police detective arrived an hour later, asking questions. Joseph had his story ready. He'd received an anonymous tip about his son's location, drove there immediately, found Danny alone in an abandoned farmhouse. He called 911 and brought Danny straight to the hospital. Simple, verifiable, and just true enough to be believable. The detective didn't push. We got a weird situation, he said. FBI raided that farmhouse an hour after you say you left. They found a man named Preston Bell there, tied to a chair, along with computer evidence of, a child abuse streaming operation. Bell's your brother-in-law. Was, Joseph corrected. I'll be filing for divorce. Your wife is currently listed as a person of interest. We'd like to bring her in for questioning. Do what you need to do. After the detective left, Joseph made a call. Not to Brittany. He'd deal with her separately. Instead, he called his lawyer, a former JAG officer named Shirley Clark, no relation to his CO, who specialized in military family law. I need you to file emergency custody papers, Joseph said. Full custody of my son, restraining order against the mother, immediate. On what grounds? He told her. She was silent for a long moment, then, I'll have the papers filed within the hour. Joe, this is going to get ugly. It already is ugly. Brittany was arrested at her mother's house the next morning. Ashley Bell was arrested at the same time. Both women were charged with child abuse, conspiracy to commit child abuse, and participation in child pornography. The evidence was overwhelming. Their chat logs, payment records, everything Preston had documented and Joseph had handed over to authorities. Joseph didn't attend their arraignments. He stayed at the hospital with Danny, who woke up screaming every few hours from nightmares. The doctors recommended inpatient trauma therapy, and Joseph agreed immediately. Whatever his son needed, whatever resources, whatever time, Danny came first. On the third day, Shirley Clark came to the hospital with good news. Emergency custody granted, restraining orders in place, and Brittany had waived her parental rights in exchange for a slightly reduced sentence. She took a plea deal, Shirley explained. 20 years, eligible for parole in 15. She'll testify against Preston Bell and the others in the network. Fine, Joseph said. He didn't care about Brittany anymore. She was dead to him. There's more, Shirley said. The FBI investigation has expanded. They've identified 47 viewers of that stream, including several high-profile individuals. Arrests are being made nationwide. You broke open a major network, Joe. I didn't do it for them. I did it for my son. I know, but you saved a lot of other children too. Maybe, but Joseph couldn't think about that right now. All that mattered was the boy in the hospital bed, the child who flinched at sudden movements and cried for his father every time he woke up. 2 weeks later, Preston Bell was found dead in his cell. Officially, it was suicide. He'd hanged himself with a bedsheet. But Joseph knew better. Someone had gotten to him, just as Joseph had predicted. One of the viewers whose identity had been exposed, or someone hired by them. It didn't matter. Preston Bell was gone, and Joseph felt absolutely nothing about it. The dark web forums had gone silent. The streaming network was dead. Law enforcement had seized servers, frozen accounts, arrested dozens of people. It would pop up again somewhere else. Joseph knew. Evil always found a way. But for now, this particular corner of hell had been shut down. Derek Rowe came to visit Joseph and Danny at the new apartment Joseph had rented. Smaller than before, but cleaner, safer, just the two of them. Danny was in therapy 4 times a week and making slow progress. He still had nightmares, still panicked if Joseph left the room for too long. But he was eating again, laughing occasionally, healing. How's he doing? Derek asked quietly. Better. Slowly. Joseph poured coffee for both of them. Doctors say it'll take years, but he's resilient. Like his dad. Joseph shook his head. His dad almost missed this. Almost let him die because I was too busy being deployed, too busy being a soldier. I should have seen what Brittany was becoming. You can't blame yourself for not seeing evil in someone you loved. Can I? Joseph's voice was bitter. I'm trained to read people, to spot threats. And I missed it. She was your wife. You trusted her. That's not a weakness, Joe. That's being human. They sat in silence for a while. Then Derek said, Colonel Clark sends his regards. He wanted me to tell you that your actions are officially classified. No records, no questions, no consequences. As far as the Army's concerned, you were on approved leave the entire time. Thank him for me. He also said if you ever need backup again, the team's ready. All 8 of us. Joseph smiled for the first time in weeks. Tell them I said thanks. But hopefully, we're done with that kind of work. Hopefully. Derek stood to leave. You're a good father, Joe. Don't forget that. You moved heaven and earth for your boy. Most kids don't have someone who'll fight that hard for them. After Derek left, Joseph went to Danny's room. His son was building Legos again, the same space station they'd started before everything fell apart. Danny looked up and smiled. A real smile, small but genuine. Can you help me? Danny asked. Always, Joseph said, sitting down beside him. They built together in comfortable silence. The pieces clicked into place, structure forming from chaos, something broken becoming whole again. It wasn't fast, it wasn't easy, but it was happening. Outside, the sun was setting over Savannah, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow, Joseph would start the paperwork for a transfer to a training command. No more deployments, no more months away from his son. He'd take a pay cut, sacrifice career advancement, and he didn't care. Danny needed him here, and Joseph would never leave him again. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Thank you for saving my daughter. She was in one of the houses you called in. We'll never forget what you did. Joseph didn't respond. He didn't need thanks. He'd done what any father would do. Protected his child and stopped the monsters who'd hurt him. And if more monsters appeared? Well, Joseph knew how to deal with monsters now. He had 8 brothers who'd answer his call, and a very specific set of skills that made him exceptionally dangerous to people like Preston Bell. But for now, he was just a father sitting on the floor with his son, building a space station one piece at a time, helping him heal. Danny leaned against him, small and warm and alive. Dad, yeah, buddy. I'm glad you came for me. Joseph wrapped an arm around his son's shoulders. Always, Danny. Every single time. I'll always come for you. And he meant it. Whatever battles lay ahead, whatever demons his son had to face as he healed from this trauma, Joseph would be there. Not as a ranger, not as a soldier, but as a father. The most important mission he'd ever have. The Lego space station grew taller. Outside, night fell. And in a small apartment in Savannah, Georgia, a father and son built something together that couldn't be broken by streaming videos or sadistic in-laws or the darkness that sometimes lived in human hearts. They built hope, and that was worth everything. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.